Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Hawks Latest, your number one source for news, updates, rumors, opinions, and you guessed it, the latest and the greatest regarding the Atlanta Hawks. I'm your host, Zach Langley, aka Langley ATL, and today we've got a packed show. So we're going to talk all about EuroBasket, the recent exhibition games that have been going on, and then what to expect on August 27th when things actually get started. We're also going to break down some of Kristaps Porzingis' surprising comments about a potential career after the NBA. Definitely some interesting stuff there, so you don't want to miss that. We're also going to examine the brutal schedule that's awaiting the New Orleans Pelicans, and certainly something that Hawks fans have to pay a lot of attention to. It could mean huge draft capital for Atlanta. It's going to be something we're going to be tracking over the entirety of the 2025-26 season. And then we're also going to break down some very favorable travel advantages for the Hawks in the second half of the season. As you all know, that we got that schedule 2 days ago, and it gets a little interesting as we go, so we've got a lot to talk about there, and much more. So without further ado, let's go ahead and waste no time and jump right into it and talk about how EuroBasket tips off in less than 2 weeks, the official start of the group play of that tournament. But the preliminary exhibition games are already underway. It's been going on for over a week now, and for Hawks fans, this seriously has been must-watch basketball. I mean, Atlanta has 3 players representing their countries this summer: Kristaps Porzingis for Latvia, Zachary Risachet for France, and Vít Krejci for the Czech Republic. And the exciting part is that all 3 have been shining. So let's go ahead and start with last year's number 1 overall pick, Zachary Risachet. The rookie has been a standout on the defensive end. It's been up and down offensively for him, but he's showcased those elite instincts and versatility. Really everything that we want to see, looking for his second year leap that could happen this upcoming season. So what's been most impressive, though, is his transition play. I mean, he has been getting out and running at an outstanding rate, finishing plays in the open court and showing that his athleticism and timing translate beautifully at the international level. Hawks fans should be thrilled. I mean, the things that we had a little bit of questions about Risachet heading into year 2, he's looking like he's answering them. We certainly want to see a little bit more on-ball shot creation, but nonetheless, Risachet is going to be very good next season. He's proving he can be a plug-and-play contributor at any level, especially in fast-paced situations. And Atlanta's going to play fast-paced next year. They might not play as quick as they were able to this past season because Kristaps Porzingis is going to be a major part of their offense, and you certainly can't play too fast-paced with him because he's a creator in the half court and also really in post-ups and in half-court situations. Not much of a transition player, but nonetheless, this is a Hawks team that will get out and running, and Zachary Risachet will be a major part of that. Vít Krejci is another name that has caught attention, not just from Hawks fans, because we know and love Vít, and we know what he can bring to an NBA floor, but he's been getting some love because of his stellar play. I mean, last season he did shoot an impressive 43% from 3. A lot of fans thought that would be an outlier season, and I don't think it was because I believe in the shot form and I believe in the confidence. But so far this summer, he is answering the question of if it was a just one-year wonder definitively. He's been drilling threes. He's been knocking down movement threes at a high clip, showcasing consistency and confidence as a shooter. I mean, beyond that, beyond just the shooting, his role player skill sets, the smart cuts, the smart reads, the floor spacing that he provides, it all continues to stand out. And honestly, he might be Atlanta's most underrated player heading into this season. I mean, I love Vít. I think he has great potential as a player, and really I love that he's pretty much just grown it in Atlanta. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a semi-breakout year for him, and if he has another leap and he stays around that like 40% 3-point shooting at high volume, I mean, Atlanta might just have the best second unit in the entire NBA. But nonetheless, then there's Kristaps Porzingis. Everyone knows the acquisition of Porzingis was a very huge one, maybe the biggest of the offseason. I mean, simply put, he looks as good as he's ever looked. The biggest part is that he is healthy. There was a lot of questions regarding his exit with the Boston Celtics. The playoff series that he last played, he didn't do so well because he was battling an illness, and Celtics fans were saying that he was never going to be the same player he once was. Well, this has already been defeated because he is absolutely dominating in EuroBasket in just the exhibition so far. So for Latvia, he has completely controlled the tempo of each game. I mean, his decision-making in the short roll, the polished post-ups where he either puts up a shot or finds the cutter, his underrated passing as well. They've all been on full display. All of his skills that are really going to translate to this Atlanta Hawks offense and defense. I mean, combine that with his deep 3-point shooting and rim protection, just all the things that make Kristaps Porzingis the player that he is. He looks like vintage KP out there. I mean, last game he posted 22 points on nearly 70% true shooting, along with 5 assists and 3 blocks. Just a dominant all-around performance. And the fact that we know know that he's ours now. It's a very awesome thing watching him play. It's going to be a very big difference from the Clint Capella years. I mean, this is a guy who can also set screens and catch lobs just like Clint, but also is an outstanding three-point shooter and has a little bit of athleticism left in the tank and is just a great all-around player. The best news for Hawks fans, though, like I said, is that he looks healthy. If he can stay very healthy through EuroBasket and then into the regular season, it will be a major boost for Hawks fans, and it might have landed Atlanta one of the biggest difference makers in the entire league. EuroBasket does officially begin on August 27th with 3 Hawks suiting up, the guys that I just mentioned. This is going to be a tournament that you do not want to miss. We are, like I said, this is kind of like the driest part of the offseason is pretty much over at this point because from here on out, we're either going to have something to watch or there's going to be some internal developments that we need to pay close attention to. Nonetheless, we've survived the driest part of the offseason, and EuroBasket is starting soon, and you seriously don't want to miss any of that action. So speaking of Kristaps Porzingis, he made some very interesting comments recently in an interview with Sporta Centers. The 30-year-old Latvian star hinted at a possible future in mixed martial arts once his basketball career comes to a close. Porzingis explained that MMA has always been his number one sport to watch, and he's already begun dabbling in training over past off seasons. Here's what he had to say. MMA is a sport that is very close to my heart. Number one in terms of viewing is something that I'm passionate about, which is why I decided to participate in a new MMA project. Porzingis did also mention that in agreements with his past clubs prevented him from training seriously during his NBA career, which is good because he certainly struggled with his past injury history. If the Hawks get 60 games out of him this upcoming season, I will be pleasantly surprised. But he could see himself pursuing this once his basketball chapter is done, which hopefully is not any time in the near future. I mean, let's keep in mind, Kristaps Porzingis is 7'2", with incredible length and coordination. So the idea of him stepping into the octagon is almost surreal, but he would hardly be the first athlete to test the waters of combat sports. I mean, we've seen boxers move into MMA, football players try their hand, and even other basketball players experiment with mixed martial arts training. For now, Porzingis' focus is firmly on basketball, a very good thing, and he's preparing for his first season with the Hawks to potentially win his second NBA championship. But I mean, who knows? A few years from now, we could be talking about him swapping the hardwood for the octagon. Hopefully that's not anytime soon, though. But just definitely a very interesting thing that he said that I did want to point out. But nonetheless, let's get back into the basketball and talk about some very interesting draft pick implications. So we've been covering the draft a lot. We did a lot this offseason, and the draft was super exciting. Atlanta had a great draft and offseason in general, but next year it gets even more entertaining because the Atlanta Hawks own the New Orleans Pelicans unprotected first-round pick because of the trade that happened this draft period. And according to Positive Residual, an advanced basketball analytics site, the New Orleans Pelicans have been handed the single toughest schedule in the entire NBA for next season. And here's why that matters for the Hawks. Like I said, they own the pick, but I mean, remember on draft night, the Hawks traded down from the 13th pick to the 23rd pick, which they used on Asa Newell, which also secured that unprotected 2026 first-round pick from New Orleans. And I mean, at the time, it did look like a very smart gamble from general manager Anzi Saleh in his first month of being general manager. But this news makes it even better. I mean, the Pelicans are facing not only the league's most difficult schedule, based off of advanced metrics, but also serious roster and injury concerns. The roster doesn't mesh well, and when the Jordan Poole DeJounte Murray backcourt is healthy, that is probably the worst fit backcourt in the entire NBA. Their depth is super questionable, their stars haven't proven durable, and the Western Conference only gets tougher each year. So that combination could spell disaster for New Orleans and an incredible opportunity for Atlanta. I mean, if things go south for the Pelicans, which I really think they will, and they very realistically could, there's a chance the Hawks could be looking at a top lottery pick in 2026, maybe even the number 1 overall pick once again. I mean, unless rookie Derek Queen turns into a superstar very soon, it's starting to look like maybe a franchise-changing trade for Atlanta and a definite fleece of New Orleans. It feels like a complete fleece at least. But maybe we can start looking at some of these prospects like AJ DeBanza, Cam Boozer, Darren Peterson, because the likelihood of Atlanta landing a top 3 overall pick next season is certainly a possibility, just due to the fact that the Pelicans have the toughest schedule in the entire NBA this season. I don't know what general manager Anzi Saleh knew at the time, but the combination of, just great negotiations and then also a whole lot of luck along with that certainly made this a great trade for Atlanta. So finally, let's wrap up with some scheduling news that directly benefits the Hawks. According to Matt Moore of the Action Network, Atlanta will travel the fewest miles of any NBA team after the All-Star break. The Denver Nuggets are second, but Atlanta leads the league in this advantage. Does this schedule get any better? I mean, travel and rest are huge factors in a long NBA season that has 82 and maybe 83 games if you go to the NBA Cup final. The Hawks have a very tough stretch early on. We broke down in last video, they start the season off with some very, very tough opponents, and it may not be a very pretty start for the Hawks, but if they can manage to stay above water and head into the All-Star break with a solid record, several games over 500, the back half of the season could really play to their advantage. So, I mean, coming out of the break, Atlanta's going to play 10 of their first 12 games at State Farm Arena. That stretch includes marquee matchups against Dallas, Milwaukee, Orlando, and of course Steph Curry and the Golden State Warriors. And then as the season winds down, the Hawks host teams like the Knicks and Cavaliers before finishing up against the Miami Heat. Still a pretty tough schedule, but nonetheless they have the most home games and the least travel in the entire league. So they're going to have very well-rested legs. Having that kind of home-heavy, low-travel late schedule in the year could give Atlanta the push that they need to rise up the Eastern Conference standings. I mean, don't underestimate how big of an advantage something like that could be in securing playoff positioning. Atlanta wants to be at the top of the East next season, and due to their schedule and then under other underlying factors, they very well could get there. So to recap today's updates, Hawks players are dominating EuroBasket exhibitions, and I can't wait for the official EuroBasket to get started on August 27th. Porzingis is looking like prime KP and is even teasing a post-career MMA venture. Atlanta might end up with a franchise-altering pick from New Orleans due to them having the most difficult schedule in the entire NBA next season, and the Hawks have a sneaky travel advantage heading into the stretch run of the season. So it's a great time to be a Hawks fan. So thank you guys for tuning in. That's going to be it for today's episode of Hawks Latest.